Hello YouTube, Ken here with another Black Desert Online video for you. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Hashashin Succession skills, his kit that came out in Korea about 2 weeks ago at this point. And I'm going to be giving you my first impressions of the kit, and also going to be going over the skills, all the skills in the Succession kit, and I'll tell you what they do and what they look like, and we're going to talk about it. So let's get this party started. As always, I'm going to turn off the camera here so that we can look at the same numbers here in the corner without my face blocking any of the information that you might be looking forward to seeing. So let me go take that off. And now bear with me here while I find the skills. So the first skill here that you have for his Succession kit is this skill here, which is his dash, that before in pre-awakening it had a 3-second cooldown. Now you can spam this skill and it comes off out of it comes out, and if you left click this skill, it will come out of several different skills. Not all his skills, but most of his skills. If you left clicked after using them, this skill will come off. There may be a couple of them that don't work, but most of them will conjure up this skill here. And now, like I said, you can use it off cooldown, so you can spam this, which will give you a little bit more mobility. And the only problem with that is that you will not get the stun they get with the skill if you use it off cooldown, and you also not get the down smash if you use it off cooldown. But everything else you got here: 4 times 1044% damage, 100% crit chance, and it is a 10-second speed buff, attack speed buff, and it also has a down attack. So this skill is pretty good because it will give you the attack speed buff, so you want to use this skill as often as possible to get that, and it also will let you connect between mobs and move between mobs and do some of your combos. So this is first of his Succession skills. Moving on to the next one here, which is this one here, which I don't have selected yet, and the only difference here seems to be the damage. Really everything here seems to be the same. So you get an 8-second cooldown, you get 958% damage times, well, not times 6, but with 6 hits, 6 maximum hits, and 100% crit chance, and it is a float, and it's got the pull in PvE only, and then an air attack and an air smash. Then his next Succession skill here is this guy over here, which is you definitely do not want to use this skill by itself. You want to use it as a combo so that you can cancel that animation. And it's a pretty useful skill because it's got, not only does it have super armor, but it also give you a 30% crit chance for a buff for 10 seconds. So you definitely want to keep this buff up as often as possible. And the skill has an 8-second cooldown, so you can definitely keep that 10-second buff at all times if you're paying attention. And you got also a 50% crit chance in PvE for this skill, and 1134% damage times 7 with this skill here. And like I said, super armor. And it does have a knockdown, but it's only in PvE, and it does have a down attack and an air attack and a down smash. And I also use this skill here for some of my skill add-ons, and I got another evasion 5% and an accuracy 5% there. Accuracy is still a problem in pre-awakening and Succession, not a lot of and actually in awakening as well. It doesn't have any inherent accuracy bonuses in any of his skills, so keep that in mind with the Hashashin. So that's it for this skill here, and then you got the next one here, which is this guy over here, which is his shift and Q, which is a little hurricane that he spawns, a little bit of an AoE there. And the main difference between this Q here in Succession versus the original one is that now it will heal you for 20 HP per hit. It doesn't really heal for a lot, and it's supposed to stun, or stiff I should say, but not many mobs get stiffed. And the last hit is a knockdown, so that's pretty good. It's got 50% crit chance, and it's a 13 times 710% damage on this skill, and it's also got a down attack, so it's okay. I'm still working on leveling up, as you can see here. I don't have a lot of skill points, so yeah, again, this guy here, you can see knockdown and a stiff, and they work both in PvP and in PvE, so you can go ahead and use that in PvP if you want. And then moving on to the next Succession skill here, it's his AoE, where he throws his glaive and spins around, and you got super armor, and you got 21 times 843 damage, and you got 50% crit chance, and it also recovers some of your stamina, 15 points of stamina, which I think is it was not in the original, and it was not in the pre-awakening, so that's a pretty good buff there for this skill, since the Hashashin in pre-awakening has some pretty bad mana problems, in my opinion, in my experience. And he also has a knockdown on his last hit of this skill, so a pretty good improvement I would say for this skill here. And he also has a stun, but it's only in PvE. Then moving on here to his next Succession skill, it is the one that he's put his dagger in the ground, or his sword in the ground. I believe his only AoE that is point blank AoE around him, which is unfortunate because he could use a few more of these. You got 1,607% damage times 10. You got 100% crit chance, and his super armor skill, which is one of his few super armor skills. And he's got a little knockdown in PvE only, and he's got a down attack and an air attack as well. So moving on here, scrolling down, his succession buff is going to give you 15% accuracy, 30% resistance to statuses, and ignore resistance 30%, which is, so it's pretty good for PvP, this buff here. Overall excellent for PvP, but of course you gotta wait 3 minutes for this buff to reuse this buff once you engage in some on a fight. And then you got his other skill here, and it does, let's see, 9 times 1,000, just roughly 1,200% damage, and it's 50% crit chance and 10 seconds of a minus 20 DP debuff and a float, and he's also got a forward guard and an air attack. And you may want to use this skill quite often because it's one of his few protected skills in the Succession Kit, so it's pretty good. The animation may seem like a very long charge here when he does his little sharpening his sword, but you can actually cancel all the skills into it so that it only hits the last hit for all the damage. So don't worry about too much about the animation. You can take care of that with some canceling. And his other skill here, he throws his glaive down the road and summons some tornadoes to hit the enemies. He's got some good range, pretty good range. You can, I don't know if the animation doesn't really do it justice, but you can hit enemies quite far away, which is both a good thing and a bad thing because you unfortunately cannot use this skill to kill enemies that are anywhere between this guy and you. I wish there would be some way to control the range of the skill somewhere, maybe by aiming a reticle down to a mob, but it doesn't seem to be the case. It seems like it just throws the glaives or the dagger way down there, farther away, as far away from you as possible. So we got here about 11 times 1,200% damage, and then we got 50% crit chance, and the first and second attack are stiff, and then we got a minus 20 DP debuff for 10 seconds, and is a down attack. And then moving on to his next prime skill here, his next succession skill, which is this guy here, which is his spacebar skill, which they now increase the number of skills that you can use after. Now you can actually use this skill here after his little charge, which is this guy here. You can use it after this. You can hit your spacebar and use it, so it's pretty useful because you can spam this pretty often. You can use it on cooldown too, so you can pretty much use this as a filler after most things, whereas in the pre-awakening you cannot spam it. You have to wait for the 6 seconds cooldown, the ultimate level, the Jin level, but now you can use it on cooldown, so it's pretty good because the damage is not bad. 5 times 1,241% damage, 100% crit, and you got a little dot here, not very important. And when it's off cooldown, you also get a float and an air attack. And then the next prime skill here, we got is just his teleport. Now he can teleport twice. Before he could only do it once, but now he's got a second hop. And that's on a 5-second cooldown, but it's pretty good nonetheless. Nothing special here, just that. No buff. You get the buff from the original one. This the 6% dodge buff you still get in the Succession Kit. And then moving on here to his buff, he gets accuracy for each stage of his succession buff, or passive I should say. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% accuracy here, which is great because, like I said before, he does not have any inherent passive boosts on his skills. So it's great that he has accuracy in his succession passive as well as in his regular passives. And then this is his other succession passive. He's got ignore resistance 5% here. You're gonna have an easier time CCing your opponents in PvP. So yeah, that's all his skills here for the Succession Kit. And now that all that's done, let's go take a look at some of his skills in action. All right, so now let's start talking about the class and my first impressions and opinions on the class overall so far on the Succession Kit. And before I start giving my opinion on it, I want to say that I've heard good things about the Succession Kit. That is the most powerful one, that does the most damage, and is the best in PvP. So don't take my opinions today, which would mostly be negative, as an indication that the class is terrible or the kit is terrible. I just prefer the Awakening Kit a lot better, and I was a lot more comfortable with it. So if I had to recommend one, I would recommend the Awakening Kit, and I'll tell you why as we go to the skills here and gameplay a little bit. But if you're thinking about maining Hashashin and you want to play Succession, don't be discouraged by my opinions. It's just my first impressions, and maybe as I play the class more, I will feel more comfortable, and I'll be able to, and I'll change my opinion about the class. So let's get started here, taking about some of the problems. So the first problem here, evident problem, is the difference in mobility. So the awakening, I don't know if you saw my awakening video for the Hashashin, but I can get all the way from here all the way to the other side of the house there within seconds. But with this kit, all he really has is this, and then 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 this again, and then you're back to this. And you're out of stamina pretty much, and out of cooldowns to use. So there might be a better way to use this combination loop, but it's required to cycle through 4 different skills, 4 or 5 different skills. You need the dodge, and then this here, and then after the dodge, so this, and then this, and then this again, and then you can keep using this, but it's not very fast. It's not going to get you very far, and you're quickly going to run out of stamina. So I'm not sure if this is really a high mobility. You might be able to run almost as fast as this if you just go like that. He has a little bit, the burst, his initial dash burst to attack the enemies is pretty good, which includes the double dodge. So you can do this to engage fairly quickly, and the first hit engage will have a stiff disc over here. Or as a stun, sorry. This is the very quick stun, so you can dash in and stun really quickly, and then continue with your mayhem of attacks if you're PvPing. Or even just doing this. This is already a pretty fast attack. No? But if the enemy is all the way over there, and you want to reach him, you can do this, and then you can... There you go. That's you see my first problem with the class, which is the lack of precision. It's very hard to calculate all these distances, and sometimes when you're grinding, you're going to find this problem where you just miss some of this attack because you go through, or you don't necessarily miss, but you hit it, and then you end up here in the middle of the mobs, and now you have to reposition yourself, do another dodge to be able to do your AoEs and things like that. Well, no AoEs. It doesn't really have a lot of AoEs, right? It's really just going to be the only AoE that he can use from the middle here. Really, is this thing here that grabs everybody around him. The other one is going to be this thing here, which doesn't really grab. Well, it's always going to miss someone, and the other one will be this guy here, which, as you can see, doesn't really grab too many people. So most of his AoE skills are from in front of him. You got to use in front of him so that he can grab. Now, this skill's still good. It was good before in the pre-awakening, and it's still good now in the Succession. And this skill here, the shift Q, now actually heals you, so it's a little bit more sustained, which is another big problem that still remains here in the Succession. So going back real quick before we move on to the mobility issues and the phasing or ghosting, as I say, through enemies, right? This skill totally goes through enemies. So if you misjudge the distance between to attack, to engage before you do the attack, this thing here, you're gonna end up on the other side of the mob, and it requires a little bit of precision. If you go from here, it's okay, but the attack itself doesn't have a long range. So no, you see, it's only from over here. From over here is about from here, this stair, the beginning of the stairs to here, roughly. Let's see if I can measure this correctly here. There you go. You can see it went a little after the stairs, so it's not a big range. So no, if you're grinding quickly, you might become annoying. And I'm pretty sure, and I'll try to post some footage showing you what I'm talking about, but I'm pretty sure that sometimes this attack also goes through mobs. If I can find a footage, I will post it in the video. If not, then maybe I'm wrong. But the other thing too, his other mobility skills, which are the same from the pre-awakening, right? Is that this one here also goes through enemies, and then this one here also goes through enemies. So it's always a repositioning game with the Hashashin playing in the Succession Kit. Whereas with the awakening, there was only one skill that went through mobs, and even then, he had quite a few AoEs. If he finds himself here in the awakening kit, he had 3 or 4 attacks that he could use to hit all the enemies around him, so it wouldn't be too much of an issue. Whereas this one, if you do this, now I had to reposition again, and I have no... I don't know why I rolled. That's another problem that I have sometimes with this class. And yes, I don't lock my rolls, so sue me. Yeah, but speaking of the rolling problem, when I was grinding Hashashin Necropolis yesterday, I was dodging, and I was running out of stamina. And I was wondering, why do I keep rolling over and over again? Why am I not dodging? It's because I was out of stamina. And his mobility skills use a lot of stamina. These things here, if you're using this and this and this and this, now you can see that my stamina is gone. So now if you want to dodge, you're going to end up rolling. And if you're constantly dodging, and I was, because I was in Hashashin Necropolis and trying not to get stunned, and knockdown all the time, then you might be stuck without being able to dodge. So another problem there for the Hashashin. Of course, if you're going to be a Hashashin main, you're going to be grinding a lot more. You're going to be increasing your stamina, maximum stamina, quite a bit more than mine. My maximum stamina right now, I'm sitting at 430. So it's not a lot. So maybe that's why I was running out of stamina pretty quickly. Grinding yesterday, but just something to keep in mind. If you're going to play Hashashin, especially the Succession Kit, make sure that you try to do what those people there are doing, and just set on auto loop to increase your stamina. Be smart. I didn't do that. You're going to gain stamina anyways from just grinding, so just do that. So the other problem which still remains in the Awakening is his lack of healing. The mana sustain has gotten a little better, but you got this and you got this skill that will probably fill up your mana almost instantly. If you do it just like the Awakening, you can use the same idea to fill up your mana. And maybe in the pre-Awakening, when I was playing when the class first came out, the mana issues was because I was not using this plus this. If you use these two skills in conjunction, you get quite a bit of mana back. Yeah, so the only difference between the management in Succession and the pre-Awakening is that now this skill here actually recovers mana, which is pretty cool. Because it's AoE, is a large AoE, and that was one of my main complaints in the pre-Awakening before, is that there was no big AoE way to recover your mana. So this way now you can recover some mana with a big AoE. It's kind of on a bit of a long cooldown of 14 seconds, but it does recover 15 mana per hit. So that's not too shabby, not too bad. The skills are quite flashy, of course. You got the new particle effects here. You can see here they look quite nice over here. And yeah, so we're talking about two of my main gripes, which is the mobility issues, and then the going through enemies issue, and then of course the sustain is another issue. I always carry my potion or health potions with him if I'm going to be grinding any areas where I may be taking any damage at all. I was using a lot of potions in Sharako Necropolis yesterday, and some in Monsham as well, because my gear on my Hashashin is not really fantastic right now. I'm stuck with all Tet, except for my boots, which I still try. They refuse to go to Tet. So if you don't have the infinite potions, it might not be a good idea for you to main Succession. Maybe even the Awakening is also pretty bad on the HP sustain. A little better, maybe, but still pretty bad. So let's take a look here. Is the special prime skills that you get from a combination of Awakening and Succession. And the first one is this one here. It has a pretty good range. Might be good for surprise the players. You can see there, and you get a stiff from each of those hits. First and second hit actually stiff. So the first time that he hits, he puts someone one tornado and another tornado. Those two are stiffs. So while that's happening, of course you can approach and miss the attack, as I just mentioned. There you go. That's why I'm not too much of a fan of this class, or this kit anyways, at this time. But you saw there that if you can be better than me and manage the distance better, you can do a pretty cool thing where you capture the enemy on the stiffs, and then you do this, and now you're here and you can stun him, and he's not going to be going anywhere, right? So pretty cool combo. That's his first of the special prime skills. There you go. Now that's probably a lot of damage, but of course you can see my mana is getting pretty low. So let's see here. Let's see how much that shift and F and E recovers. That's a pretty good chunk, right? And that's only 4 mobs. If you throw this, if you're grinding and you throw this in a group of 6-7 mobs, which is a pretty decent average pull, right? You probably will fill up your mana completely. So that's a pretty good improvement there as far as mana sustain, although his HP sustain is still pretty terrible. Yeah, so his other skill is this guy over here. It's a pretty long animation, but I just actually used it before when I was comboing that guy a few seconds ago, and you didn't even notice because it comes out pretty quickly if you use it in combo, and you can do something like this. And there you go. And this is the last hit that I just did there was the forward or the back and C actually, which was the special skill. And you can barely see. It's a very quick slot here. Let me see. Oh, very quick slash. I'm sorry. Let me see if I can just do a simple attack here and use that so that you can see what I'm talking about here. So let's see, auto attack. Now let's see this, and there you go. The second and final attack was the special skill. Yeah, so the other cool skill he has in theory is the teleport. It will be some good mobility because you can do it from quite far away. right? It's a very fast skill and a very good mobility skill. But of course, now you can see exactly where I am. So in PvE, again, you're gonna be stuck in a situation where once you land, you're gonna have to reposition again. And now I'm here, which means I'm missing this guy here when my attacks, some of my attacks. So positioning is going to be very important when you play Hashashin, because again, a lot of times you're going to find yourself in the middle of the mobs. You're going to have to get out again and do all sorts of shenanigans to be able to hit the mobs. So that's one of the reasons. Those are my main gripes with the class: the mobility, the lack of HP sustain. They're going through enemies. I think the going through enemies is the most annoying part, because when you're grinding and you're trying to hit mobs and you're going through them instead, it's not very amazing. And I guess possibly the final problem that I have is the lack of super armor as far as grinding. Yeah, let's take a look at the skills again. And I know that he has super armors in this skill here, which is his little dash forward, which is not the dash forward, but the second, the pirouette that he does. The jumping around, but that's a skill that you cannot use straight away. You gotta use the skill after a second skill. So let's say, for example, if you use this here, which is your dash, this is unprotected, so you have to use an unprotected skill first, so that you can use the super armor skill after that. And it's only on some cooldown. It's got super armor. It's a 5-second cooldown, so you know it's kind of cool that it's a mobility skill that lets you get behind the enemies while having super armor, but at the same time is not great for grinding because it's not an AoE and it's going to put you out of position to kill the mobs. And then the other super armor skill that he has, this one is actually useful, which is his 30% crit chance buff. This is super armor, but usually this skill, no, it looks like the animation is pretty long here, but you're never going to use this skill without the cancellation, which is this second skill here. So it just comes out almost immediately anyways. And so I mean, it's good to have super armor there, but it's not an AoE, so it's not going to help you in grinding in some situations, especially because again, it's not an AoE. And if you go through, remember my other problem, which means you're going to be in the middle of the mobs half of the time, and you're going to use this for the super armor, you're only going to hit the mobs that are in front of you, so not very helpful. And then his next super armor is this skill here, which is the other jump forward, which again it's okay. It's also not great for grinding because you're going to be going off position and you're going to have to reposition yourself. So no. I would rather have a more useful super armor skill where it does actually good damage, because this skill and the other one are not good for damage. They're only good for repositioning in PvP, so they can get behind your opponent and do some back attacks or other things like that. But in PvE, they're pretty useless, other than maybe a little bit of mobility, and in the case of this one here, a little bit of a mana regen. And then this one has got a frontal guard. This one is his jump. Frontal guard while charging. But I don't use this skill a lot. I find that it's kind of clunky, and the cooldown is way too long, 15 seconds for a skill that doesn't do too much. So the protection is pretty much wasted in my opinion in this skill. And then for the next super armor, we have this skill here, which is the one he summons the tornadoes that go around the field, picking people up. And if you choose the prime skill here, the prime version, you can become one of the thunders, one of the tornadoes, and walk around as a tornado, as you can see in the beautiful animation over there. I don't have points yet, but the cooldown is 20 seconds, so no, it's not really a reliable super armor skill that you can keep up while grinding. Plus, it doesn't do fantastic damage, I don't think. I mean, it does, but it's over a long period of time, so the DPS is not. It looks impressive. 36 hits of 840% may look super great and powerful, but it's over a long. You see the animation, right? Every of these hits is not a very short burst of power. It's a very slow tick of over 10 seconds. So there's that. And then the other super armor is this guy here, which is another similarly high damage, but spread over a long period of time. This I'm not complaining, this skill is pretty good. 14 seconds though on the cooldown. And the other super armor is this one here, 12-second cooldown. So these two skills are good for grinding because they're both AoEs and do decent damage. This one in particular does pretty good damage and it's got super armor, and this one also does decent damage and super armor. But that's pretty much it. So yeah, that's my final problem, I think, with the class, the lack of super armor. Again, don't take my opinion as meaning that the class is terrible. It might just be that I need a little more time. I only been able to play maybe 4 hours, grind 4 hours with the class so far, plus playing a little bit with the kit here and in the island over here. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say about the Succession video for now. If I'll be playing more of the class over the next week, and if I change my mind, hopefully I will change my mind, and if I do change my mind, I will let you know on the Succession guide, the video that will be coming out in a few weeks from now. The first video that I want to put out in preparation for the Hashashin global release in a few weeks is going to be the leveling up guide, so that you guys can have a very smooth as possible leveling up experience. So you can be prepared for when the class comes out, and then after that I'll be releasing the awakening guide and the succession guides in the following week, so that you guys can be prepared for when those parts of his kit release for you guys. But as always, if you like the video and thought it was informative, I would appreciate if you could hit that like button, and if you want to see more video content from me, don't forget to subscribe. And also, if you want to support the channel, we have now the join button down here somewhere. Feel free to click that if you want to enjoy some of the cool perks that we got there. And more importantly, if you like the channel and want to see more content coming. And also, don't forget to join our Discord community and our Twitch streams. Links for all those things down below. And with all that said, that's going to be it from me from now. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.